And now to the race to the White House. Social conservative leaders in Iowa reportedly meeting in secret to decide on a candidate to beat Mitt Romney in their state. Why do they seem to be looking to plot against him? Could voter trust issues be plaguing the Romney campaign? Tim Punke is a former Clinton economic advisor, former advisor to the Senate Finance Committee. He joins us. Ford O'Connell is chairman of the Civic Forum PAC and former director for rural outreach for Senator John McCain's candidacy. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us. Ford, let me start with you. The Romney trust issue seems fueled, at least in part, by claims of flip-flops and pandering, but you know this, that's endemic in politics. And yet the label seems to really stick to Romney. Why is that? How much does it hurt him?
Well, I think Iowa social conservatives, don't question whether or not Mitt Romney's well-positioned to take on Obama. They just don't trust him on social issues like gay marriage and abortion. They essentially see him really as someone who will put ambition above principle. And for them, that's just a cardinal sin, and they just can't stand that.
Tim, Romney's advisors say that Americans care less about all that stuff of flip-flops and so forth. And what they really care about is Romney's ability to fix the economy, which they claim President Obama has failed to fix. Effective argument?
Well, listen, I think that Romney, first of all, has to get past those really core issues with the social conservatives in Iowa. These are really fundamental issues that he's flip-flopped on, from abortion to gun control to health care. But you're right, the latest response from the Romney campaign is to say, listen, forget all that. It's all about the economy. But even on the economy, Romney's changed his position on some really fundamental issues. Mm-hmm. He was supportive of TARP and stimulus before he opposed it.
He was supportive of loans to the
Wait a minute. Let Tim finish, please.
Go ahead.
I was going to say he was supportive of loans to the auto companies when he was campaigning in Michigan. When he was outside of Michigan, he had a different position. Even on the payroll tax cut, he initially opposed it, but now supports it. So it's really contributed to this kind of anybody but Romney mentality, not only among social conservatives, but among all Republicans.
Ford, it's expected that the president's two top advisors, Axelrod and Pluff, would call Romney a serial flip-flopper with quote unquote no core values. Essentially the same thing Tim was just saying. But look, Newt Gingrich is now joining in on the chorus. Here's what Gingrich said just a few days ago. Quote, "There is no point in beating Obama with somebody who is confused about who they are or what they believe." Look, when Gingrich does that, it's got to hurt, doesn't it?
Well, of course it hurts, and that's always been Mitt Romney's issue since, he ran in 2008, and it stuck with a lot of voters. But at the end of the day, Republican primary voters want Mitt Romney to earn the nomination. They feel that if he wins Iowa and he wins New Hampshire, he'll be given an easy pass to the nomination. They want him to work for it. And at the end of the day, we all know that President Obama has been a flop on the economy, and this election will be a referendum on Obama. They just want to put the best candidate forward, and they want that candidate to work for it. And that's really the dilemma that Mitt Romney finds himself in.
Let me pick up on what Ford just said. Roughly 75% of Americans in one recent poll say they are worse off than before President Obama took office. It's in fact a fact he admitted himself in an interview not long ago. And his negative job approval numbers suggest that Americans do blame him, the president, for this. And no president has been reelected with 9% unemployment since World War II. Would you agree that, the prospects for reelection don't look good?
Well, I think you have to look at another number, which is the poll that shows Obama beating every single Republican contender. Romney, I think the latest poll had him up by had Obama up by 6 over Romney and by double digits over the rest of the field. Listen, I think the economy is obviously going to be a challenging issue, but I also think you have to step back and remember where we started. The last month that Bush was president, we lost 800,000 jobs. In the last month, we gained 80,000 jobs, and consumer spending and consumer confidence is up. So I think you have to remember where we started, and I think you also have to look at those one-on-one numbers.
Ford, much has been said. Almost every day I read some column saying, well, Romney has failed to gain support of more than a quarter of Republican voters in the national polls, and he needs that. That's sort of the standard. But look, when you've got anywhere from 8 to 11 candidates in this crowded field, depending upon how you count it, they're all dividing up potential voters. Maybe 25% is actually a pretty good number.
Well, I think it is a pretty good number, and I think it shows some staying power. And the number one thing in those numbers that Romney's getting the most credit for is the economy. And we all know in the general election that's going to be the top issue. But Team Romney really wants to win Iowa, close the door in New Hampshire, and lock in the nomination. Because if they don't, and they get it themselves in a long, protracted fight, they could be battling all the way to Tampa Bay, and that's a real issue and something they want to avoid.
Well, you know what? I checked the figures a couple of hours ago. Gingrich is statistically tied with Romney in both Iowa and South Carolina, and there's one poll that has them statistically tied in New Hampshire. So we'll wait and see what happens.
True, Greg, but this is all about momentum. We know that.
It is. And you know what? We got a whole year of it. So plenty of momentum to swing back and forth. All right. Ford O'Connell, Tim Punke, good to see you both, guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Greg.
All right.